Here I am, at it again. And as promised, this time on the show, I'm going to cover my favorite applications for root. And this one might get a little bit lengthy because I have a lot of applications that I use. So let's dig into this, shall we? All right. First, let's open up my browser because some of these applications I'm not going to be able to show you with this little setup that I have on the screen here. So I'll give you a brief rundown of some of the programs that I'm using now. All right, first let's go into Bromite here, and we're looking at a homebrew formula. And they have a web page on Screen Copy. Screen Copy allows you to display and control your Android device on your computer screen. I put this to the test. Also, I was playing Neverwinter Nights on my mobile, and I wanted to be able to display it on my big screen. And I have this computer hooked up to the TV, and I was actually able to control it quite well, which I was surprised with. I'm not going to be doing any demonstrations of that today, but I just think it's really neat because you can, the command line utility program, you just go on their wiki and get some simple instructions. It tells you how to set it up with ADB wirelessly. Just read the wiki and it'll tell you how to do it. It's very easy to do. And then you can wirelessly connect your tablet to the screen. And this doesn't even, or your cell phone, as long as it has Android 5 or higher. And it doesn't really even need to be root, but it is one of the utilities that made this entire thing possible. So, good stuff indeed. All right. For now, this application doesn't require root access either, and this is Android Debug Bridge, and you probably see this a lot, ADB. You'll see people posting commands on forums on how to uninstall a piece of software using ADB shell. And there is, depending on the device that you're using, you may appear on XDA developers and they will give you instructions on how to remove bloatware without root using ADB shell. Now, ADB shell doesn't actually remove the software off of the off of your storage physically from the partitions where your root programs reside, but it uninstalls them for your user so that they're not connecting online or activating and installing updates and that sort of thing. So it's very useful. All right, and then finally, my tablet uses a MediaTek device. And if you're going to be doing any rooting with a MediaTek device, you want this utility, which is the SP Flash tool. And interestingly, I was able to get a backup ROM from XDA developers for my tablet. And then all I had to do was just flash the twerp recovery onto it. And then once that was done, I just rebooted into recovery and then installed the Magisk zip file, which then gave my device root right then and there. And I didn't even have to unlock the bootloader. That was the most recent time. And believe me, I've got 3 of these tablets, and so I was blown away that on my third tablet that I was able to root without even unlocking the bootloader, which I thought was kind of cool. SP Flash Tools is your friend, and there are tutorials on XDA developers on using that as well. So I'm not going to be doing any demonstrations or anything like that because the fact of the matter is, rooting is not for the faint of heart. I will tell you, in playing around with the on 8-inch Walmart tablets, I have hard bricked them several times, and using SP Flash Tools, I was able to get the devices usable again. And if you're afraid of bricking your device, don't root. But that's part of the learning process because I wanted to not only, learn how to root, but I also wanted to learn how to brick and unbrick. device. So I've learned some interesting things along the way there. Okay, let's go ahead and close this, and then we'll just dig into the next thing that I have here. We're going to look at some root applications. And of course, the first one that I mentioned when I had the TeamWin Recovery project installed was I flashed a Magisk, or that's this funny little mask here. Let's go ahead and open this up. Okay, and Magisk is the program which allows you to have systemless root. This is handy because systemless root doesn't, it's like an overlay over your system files, so it doesn't actually modify the system files, but there are rooted files. It's hard for me to describe here, but but basically a systemless root file system keeps your original files intact. This could be important if you're like doing online banking or other things where the software that you're using for doing day-to-day tasks will check and make sure that your mobile device isn't rooted. Otherwise, they'll detect that if it is rooted, they'll deny you the service. Some companies out there do not want you to have a rooted phone to use their service. So I don't do online banking on my tablet anyway, and I probably never will, so I don't even worry about it. But here are some of the neat things that you can do with this. Now, you can use this application to patch a boot image, but the best way to go is just install TeamWin Recovery and then just flash a Magisk package that way. All right, and you can also download modules. Now I have a few modules already pre-installed, and this is part of it, so why don't I go ahead and talk about these now. Systemless Hosts down here on the bottom is installed with Attaway, and it doesn't actually edit the physical hosts file on the device, but the virtual hosts file which Attaway needs. So that is set up as a module, and it's loaded up at boot time. Also, I use Substratum for theming my Android device, and that's what colored all of my screens and settings menus, and everything on my screen is colored with a dark theme with white text, and that's the way it's got to be. And the only way to achieve this on many Android devices, unless you're using a custom ROM, is you need root, and you need the Substratum theme engine, and you'll need to purchase a theme. Most of the better, there are a few good free themes out there, but if you want one of the better ones, you're going to have to ante up, and I got the pitch black one. I think it costs like $2 or $3, and well, it was well worth it. I love it. Okay, and then this next one is called fbind. Now, on current Magisk, this will not install easily, and I'm hoping the developer will update this application. When I installed this, I actually had to install an older version of Magisk in order to get this zip file to install. What fbind does is it allows you to symlink any of your directories in your main storage to your SD card, even if the file system that your SD card is using does not support symlinking, as is the case. I'm using a FAT32 formatted SD card, and I have my Android data directory and my Android OB directory, okay? And as many of you know, games like to store files in those directories. And so what happens is, at boot time, when Magisk kicks in, so do the modules, the fbind will bind those folders before I even boot into my screen, because obviously I have everything in my Android data folder and my Android OB folder shoved over on the SD card, and it's an excellent way to prevent programs from stealing up internal storage, especially nowadays with SD cards being pretty darn quick. As a matter of fact, I bought a 128 gig SD card on the cheap, with a 10 rating on it, and it seems like SD cards have gotten a lot faster lately. So that's a good thing, and as a matter of fact, I bought two of them in case this one fails, and I keep a backup of all the contents. I like to pull the chip out and keep a backup of the contents on my computer's hard drive, so that I have that available as well. That's why I don't format my SD cards as internal storage, because it becomes encrypted and you can't read it on another device. It's married to your Android, and I want to be able to pull these out, backup content, and that sort of thing, and swap back and forth. So the fbind Magisk module is where it's at. And of course, there are plenty of other modules that you can get and install for this. There are mixing consoles that you can improve the audio quality of your Android device. There is XPZ and Ariro Core here. These allow you to even add even more functionality to your device and really tweak some settings. I downloaded these before and tried them. I thought they were pretty neat, but really impractical for what, because pretty much the applications, most of the applications that I've already shown on the screen, pretty much do everything that I want. So, having these installed were a little bit overkill for me. But you have other things you can do too. You can change all of the fonts system-wide on your device. There are plenty of other modules, and the nice thing, as mentioned earlier, these modules will load at boot time. Okay, and then it loads that systemless root in there, and that's what gives your programs root access. If I go into Super User here, it tells you what programs I have installed here that have root access. My Attaway, my system optimization tool, my file manager, my cleaning utility, the Substratum theme engine, and my terminal emulator. So, and at any time I can go in and tick these switches and turn off root access whenever I choose. So that's always a good thing there. And then there is a Magisk hide option, and what this does, this handy little gem, will allow you to hide the fact you have root from certain applications. So if your bank has a specific piece of software that you need to use to check your balance, you can hide Magisk from that application so that it will function, and it will trick the application into thinking that your device isn't rooted. I think that's stupid anyway, that that many of these app developers are punishing people for rooting their devices, because really you're not using Android until you've rooted the thing, to be honest with you. And of course, just a few simple little settings for configuring this how you like. Magisk is wow, I love this software. My old Samsung Galaxy doesn't have a root utility like this at all. Pretty much you root the device, and you've got Super SU, and pretty much you have a full-on rooted file system, where this is systemless root. So those system files remain intact, and the rooted applications and that sort of thing are like overlaid on at boot time. I think that's how it works, and I may have my terminology slightly off, but I think you get the idea of what I'm talking about here. So, all right. I think we've done enough with Magisk. Let's go ahead and move on to another application, And of course, this is Adaway. And of course, Adaway basically not only does ad blocking in your web browser, but it also removes ads from applications that you may have installed. And additionally, you can even scan for adware. All right, let's go ahead and run this. All right, it's telling me that there are 3 programs that contain adware. Okay, Aptoid. Imagine that, one of the software centers. But you know what? This blocks the ads, so I don't ever have to worry about that. Classic is my Bejeweled 3 Classic game, and I actually paid for the premium version. I never see any ads in it ever. So that's always a good thing. And then I have a paid VIP slot machine. Game is, well, it says that there are ads in it, but it's mostly, but because it's the paid version, it's easier to win. So I keep it installed, and every now and then it'll nag me to buy one of their in-app purchases, which is completely unnecessary because I've won so many credits with the game that... So a quick scan, it tells you what you have here for apps that contain adware, and then it's up to you. If you want to, you can remove them. You can choose your host sources, and pretty much the one you really want is the ad block at mahakala.is, which is the mother of all ad blocking. Of course, this is doesn't look like it's been updated in a long time, so I have a few others here that are a little bit more recent. But basically, they seek out and destroy any... I guess it blocks many of the ads that are used in Android apps from the Play Store, so you have that option. And then after, of course, it updates your system list host file, gives you an option to reboot and that sort of thing, and you can tweak this however you like with a few of the little preference settings. Good stuff indeed. You get this one from F-Droid. You can't get this from Google Play Store because Google Play wants you to view advertising, and the only way you can get ad block apps from the Google Play Store is if you're getting like a browser that contains ad blocking in the browser itself. But Google is greedy about their bottom line, and so they will not allow any applications in their store that does complete and total ad blocking. They will, however, allow DNS programs, but those tend to be a little bit more complicated to set up and that sort of thing. They will allow DNS, but even then, I think they could even be doing something about that too. So, yeah, all right. Let's back up here and let me see what other apps I like for root. Okay, this one is called FDA AI. I was introduced to this with Magisk as a module. Okay, now this program is a system optimization tool, and you don't want to use any other system optimization tools with this. Now, the Magisk module, basically, you just set it and forget it. You just run it and that sort of thing. But it's no longer available in the Magisk repository. So if you want to continue, if you want this, you got to ante up. So, but it's worth it because for starters, I will say that the On 8-inch tablets from Walmart, while they are kind of okay-ish, you gotta have this to get more oomph out of them. For starters, they only have a 4.5 to 5 hour battery life. Okay, and this will help you kick an extra half hour to an hour battery life out of it, depending on your use scenario. Okay, I've never run into an instance on my tablet where I have completely run out of battery. For the most part, because I mean, the longest I'll use it is maybe 2 or 3 hours anyway, and that's even playing a game. I don't sit down on it with it plugged in all the time either. So you have this, and then there are some other performance tweaks as well. It is telling me how much RAM I have in use, and you can do some tweaks. You can set the AI system optimization on this. You could I just have it set on its default adaptive, but maybe if I want to get some extra power for gaming, I could set that up with this utility as well. So I kind of like that as well. All right, and pretty much this is just one of those set it and forget it kind of things, and I'm just happy that I have this running. So FDA.ai is awesome. I loved it as the Magisk module, but it's just not available anymore. So, and the newest versions they have on the XDA developers, for whatever reason or not, they just will not flash on the newest Magisk version. So I decided, okay, I'll support the developer and just get the application off the Play Store. I'd much rather have it as a Magisk module. And hopefully they will, because then I can uninstall the software and just have the module and just let it run as it is. Because that in itself does a nice job for me. All right. Then, of course, I use SD-Made as my cleaning tool. And I love this application because, well, I love to install and try out lots of different softwares and that sort of thing. And so SD-Made does a nice job of keeping your system clean. It has a corpse finder, right? And the corpse finder system in this seeks out and gets rid of leftovers on your internal storage after you've installed a program. When you uninstall a program, there are some little traces that are left behind, and Corpse Finder will go into your data directory and clean those out for you, which is really nice. Okay, and then you have your standard system cleaner. Okay, and this will remove a lot of stuff from caches and that sort of thing. Now, it doesn't clean everything. You still need to, for some things, you may need to still go into your settings and clean out caches. But this will clean out things from your web browser and a bunch of other utilities as well. I find it quite handy, and we'll actually do, matter of fact, we'll go back into quick access here and we'll do a scan here so we can see what kind of things that it finds for us and where they come from. All right, well, let's take a look and see what it's going to clean. All right, there's a system cleaner. It's saying 1.5 megs of files can be cleaned. We can click on this and it'll tell me what it is. There's some empty directories, temporary files, something from data system Dropbox, and data system user agents. Okay. Let's go back into a quick access here. And now the corpse finder didn't find anything. I did not install anything either, so let's look in App Cleaner. Look what we have here. It's going to clean out 44 megs of data from the Google Play Store. It's going to clean out 28 megs of data from Bromite. The Aurora store that I demonstrated yesterday has some stuff that it's going to clean out. It's going to clean out some stuff from the Play services. So there's a little list, and you can basically see what it is it wants to clean out. And these files are safe to be cleaned. Let's go back into quick access here, and then it's going to do a quick cleaning of the database as well. So we can go ahead and run this. All right, and of course you really want to use root with this. It'll do some cleaning without root, but for the most part, and this comes in two flavors too. It has a free version and a paid version. Now, this is probably the longest running root program that I've ever had. As a matter of fact, I got introduced to SD-Made years ago when I got introduced to Android. So I've had SD made with me for many, many years, and I don't know of any other better cleaners. Most of the cleaners that you see on the Play Store make some pretty outrageous claims and promises. In addition to cleaning, they supposedly wash the kitchen sink too, and they have a battery analyzer, and they have a whatever. They just have loads of extra bloat on them. And usually, when I see software in the Play Store making outlandish claims like that, I tend to avoid them. SD Made gets the job done. No fuss, no muss, no extra bloat. It's there, and what can I say? I like this. All right, and this is my terminal emulator, and I got this one from F-Droid. And let me see if it tells me which one this is. It's just simple terminal emulator. You'll see this icon. If you go on F-Droid, this is the one you want. There is a more popular one on the Android market called Termux. I looked at that one too, but that one seems to be a little bit bloated. It's quite heavy, and to have extra functions, you need to download more content. And I just wanted a simple, lightweight terminal without the extra fluff. And terminal emulator from the F-Droid market does the trick for me. It has some nice preferences for setting up everything. Okay. You can pretty much set your font sizes how you want it to appear, whereas the Termux, if you want to theme it, I believe it costs extra to be able to have the theming capability and to do a number of other things with it. I just wanted something simple just for issuing commands and that sort of thing. All right, and pretty much that's it. I've covered all of my favorite applications that I have on my rooted device, and some of the external utilities that I've used with it as well. In our next edition of Spatry's favorite Android apps, I'm going to cover some of my favorite faith-based applications and video games. And with the COVID outbreaks and everybody spending time at home, I'm sure a lot of people are getting their game on, or maybe even using faith-based applications because they can't go to services anymore. So next episode we'll have that information on there. A little bit of love goes a long way, so please be sure to take some of your time today and be excellent with somebody. Until next time, peace out.